All right, this is week 2, and this week we're going to look at how to filter data using MySQL, and we're also going to look at the different operators and how we can use them in the filtering query. In your pre-recorded videos, you have examples with a different database. We have that we use the secular database, but in this live class, we'll try to use as much different databases as possible so that you can be able to understand and work with any database you get in the future. So I'm going to open a new SQL file and then we'll start. So whenever we want to query a database table, we use the select statement. We have to select the database first, and so we're going to use classic models. And then we want to select all from, let's say we want to select everything from the orders table. When we run this, we'll see all of the rows and columns returned from the order table. Now, when we want to filter this, maybe based on the criteria, there's a clause we use after the table name, the where clause, like this. And then after the where clause, we put a condition. When that condition is satisfied, we want to return the rows that matches the condition that we have satisfied there. So let's say we have all of these orders and we have this status column. We have several status. We have shipped, we have canceled, and we can look down to see all of them. So let's say we want to get all of the orders where the status is canceled. So we'll put where the column condition here is status and the value there is canceled. And then we'll run this, and now what it returns is only the row of information where the status of the order is canceled. All right. Now you see that we were looking at the status column to be able to know what values they hold. When you work as a data scientist or as a database administrator, there is this data exploration phase that you have to go through. When you have data, you want to look through the data, you want to understand it, you want to see if you need to do any re-engineering of the data, creating new columns that do not exist, or clean up the data generally for you to be able to use it to get meaningful research results. One thing that we want to do is how we can look at a column to see what values they hold. Then we can form our queries based on those values. There is another clause or a statement in MySQL called distinct. And let's say we want to select the status column. We want to see what values they hold. We know there is canceled. We know there is shift, but we want to see all the different kind of status. We use the distinct keyword like this, and let's say we just want only the status column like this. So we want to select unique statuses or unique status from the orders table where the status is cancelled. So we remove this condition of where, because what we want to do first of all is to explore this table and see what are the unique values or what are the values that the status column holds without repeating the values. We want unique values. And so we get each of the values: shipped, resolved, cancelled, on hold, disputed, in process. So now you can know what values to work with. Do you want to have like a page on your software where the user just logs in and is able to just see only details of all the orders that are cancelled or that is in process or that is disputed, to work on those ones without having to go through or go through a table of different orders to sort out which is which. So now that we know this, when you have a software where you have an interface where the interface just gives you, or you have a drop-down menu that you want to create to say, I want to return all of the rows where the status is shipped, and you click on that, then just gives you only shipped details, or only the orders on hold, or only disputed, or only those in process, so that once it's in process, whoever is packaging or doing whatever with the order is able to just see those ones, package the order, ship, mark as shipped, and move on to the next without having to always sift through all of the records. So we use the distinct operator to be able to explore, get unique values from the column. All right. So now we have seen how we filter records from a result set using the where clause. And we've seen how we use the distinct statement or clause to be able to get unique values from a column of records. We want to also see how we can do further things like have conditions that have several conditions, not just one condition. We can say we want to get those that the orders are in process and maybe the payment has been made or something like that. We want to look at the different operators that we can use to achieve this query that I just talked about. But before I go ahead, is there anyone with question? All right, in the absence of question, let's look at the operators. Now, operators in SQL is similar to that in several programming languages where we have different groups of operators. We have like the arithmetic operators where we do arithmetic operations with those operators, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, modulo. We have comparison operators that we use to compare things like the equal sign. Now, what is different in the comparison operator in SQL and other languages is that equal in other programming languages is an assignment operator. But in MySQL or in SQL, equal is used to check for equality of two values, two or more values. You want to see if A is equal to B, you use the equal operator. Then we have things we call logical operators, like the AND operator, the OR operator. We have NOT, we have the IN, we have ANY. These are all logical operators. We have compound operators, we have bitwise operators, and then we also have the different kind of queries or the different ways or different requirements for using these different operators. Let's see the comparison operator, for instance. We want to select, let's look at the products here. Let's select all from products first. So select all from products. We see the different columns that the product table holds. And let's say we want to select, let's work on the buy price now. Let's say we want to select everything from products where the buy price is equal to a particular value, right? So that's where we use the operator. We want to use an assignment operator or a comparison operator, the equal now, to now check if the value that we specify on the right is found in the database table. So let me explain that so that you can understand it better. Now we want to select all from this table where the price is, let's say for instance, let's say 48.81. So we'll say where the column name now is buy price. Now we use the equal operator to check for equality of the buy price with the value we're going to specify, which is 48.81. Okay. Later on, we're going to look at the different data types and then we'll understand why we quote some values and we don't quote some values. But for now, we focus on how we filter from a result. We first of all query the products table to get all of the records, but we want only the record where the column buy price has a value of 48.81. And so when we run this, we are going to get just that row of information where the buy price is 48.81. All right. So we can use other comparison operators, like let's say we don't want 48.81, but we want everything greater than 48.81. And then we get all of the rows of information where the prices are greater than 48.81. We can say 48.81 and above. That means including 48.81, we put greater or equal to like this, and then we get the 48.81 and above. If we want it to be less than 48.81 or less, then we use less than sign, less than equal to get 48.81 and below. If we want it just less than 48.81, we'll remove the equal, and it's going to be less than 48.81. So you won't get anything equal to or greater than. Okay, so these are like the comparison operators that we can use to get things. If we want to say not equal, you want to get everything that is not equal, you can use a less than and greater than sign for not equal. And so it will give you everything but the one with the buy price of this. Then we have not equal can also be an asterisk and equal. Not an asterisk, sorry, a exclamation mark and equal. And then you get the same values with the less than and greater than sign. All right, anybody has question? Does everyone understand, or you want me to repeat it again?
Hi.
Hello.
I just wanted to understand more on the less than and equal to, on the inclusion and exclusion part. Yeah.
Okay.
Again, please.
All right. So when we say less than, right, we want to get everything that is less than it, not equal to it. It has to be less. So if the value is 48.81, it violates this rule. So it doesn't give us that one. It has to be less than 48.81, right? And then you get everything that has the buy price of less than 48.81. Now, if you want to include 48.81, you want everything less than 48.81, including 48.81, you put less than or equal to like this. All right. So if you use only less than, it's excluding the 48.81. If you add equal to, you're including 48.81 and below. And why this is useful in real life is when you say you are filtering data by the ages of people, and you want to say people that are less than 18, right? And then you want people that are 18 and above. So you won't put greater than 18, you put greater than or equal to 18 to make sure that you get 18 and above. So if you say greater than 18, it means that people who are 18 years old will not be filtered, but people who are above 18. But if you put greater than or equal to, means that people that are 18 years old and people that are above 18 years old. Is that more understandable?
Yes, clear. Thank you.
All right. So all of these operators, anything you use to compare things is called a comparison operator. And in our elementary mathematics, we already know about all of those comparison. Is A equal to B? Is this bigger than this? Is this smaller than this? Is this not equal to this? So these are basically the same symbols that we use in mathematics that we use for comparison here. But now there are symbols in computer science, or there are statements in computer science that we use. Now, for those who already have a degree in computer science and you did some introduction to hardware where we did on and off, true or false, and 1 and 0, and all of those truth symbols, you will know that when we do use an AND statement, when you use AND in your statement, you are combining two conditions, and those two conditions must be true. So if you have maybe 5 conditions and 4 are true, 1 is false, the AND statement is violated, and so it will not return you a result. Everything must be true for AND. If you use OR, it means even if you have 10 conditions and only one of the condition is true, the OR operator becomes true. So AND is everything must be true. If there's anything that is not true, AND becomes false. Or is any one can be true, even if every other thing is false. If one of it is true, the OR becomes true. Then we have the not, which just gives the opposite of the condition, right? So let's try to see how we use the AND operator to filter result set like this. So let's say let's use another table to do this so that we can illustrate this better. Let's say I will use Let's select all from employees and see what it holds. Yeah, so the employee table has the employee number, the last name, the first name, the extension, the email, office code, reports to job title. Now, let's say we want to have two conditions. We want a condition where the office code is, let's say we want to use office code of 4, where the office code is 4 and the job title is sales rep, for instance. So we want two conditions to be true before it returns the row of information that satisfies those two conditions. So we want to select all of the records from the employees table where now the office code, the name of the column is office code. That's condition 1 is equal to 4 and the job title, which is the name of this other column, is equal to sales rep. So we have two conditions. We have the AND operator that combines these two conditions, and each of these conditions must be true for this to be satisfied. So if office code is 4 and sales rep is true, return that row. If not, do not return the row. And so we only get employees who are in office with code of 4 and the job title is sales rep. Okay. Now this is using the AND operator, and we can use several conditions and more ANDs and several ANDs until you get to everything you want. Then we can use the OR operator to say, OR means if office code is 4, even if the office code is 4, even if the job title is not sales rep, return. If the job title is sales rep, even if the office code is not 4, return. That's what the OR operator does. And so it returns everything with office code 4, regardless of the job title, and everything with job title sales rep, regardless of the office code. Is this understandable, or should I repeat this one? Does everyone understand this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So you can have multiple OR operators like this and have more conditions to satisfy, but then the OR doesn't make sense when you have several. There is another operator that we use to replace several OR operators, which is the IN operator. Let's use the IN operator, but in this scenario, that might not work. Let's say we want to say office code, where office code in, let's do it like this. We want to get office code in, and we want to return everything where the office code is 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. So instead of saying where office code is 1 or office code is 2 or office code is 3 or office code is 4, we use the IN operator and just write the list of all of the office codes that we want to use. So we use the IN to replace multiple OR statements. So it's going to give us all of the rows where the office code is 1, 2, 3, and 4 here. All right, we can use this and combine that with an AND statement and say, and job title is equal to, let's say, sales rep. So what it does is that it checks the office code must be either 1, 2, 3, or 4, and the job title must be sales rep. So we'll get everybody who is sales rep in office 1, 2, 3, or 4 here. So that's what this means. So you have to practice with all of these queries and get questions to try to solve to be able to understand how you get all of these queries written. You can play around with several databases. The previous week's notes had all of the links where you can have extra databases like the secular database, the world database, and there are several databases there that you can add to your practice. All right. So we have something like not in. Now we use in. Not in is just like the reverse. So I want every employee that the office code is not 1, 2, 3, or 4. Any other office code should display. So I can just add not in front of the in. So not in 1, 2, 3, 4, like this. So not in just gives a reverse. And so we get only 5, 6, 7 office code. We don't have 1, 2, 3, 4. Where this is useful is you want to get something and the false is less than the true, right? Let's say, for instance, I want to get everybody who is, or I have a database with a table that holds the ages of different people. And we have ages from 0 years to, let's say, to 80 years old. And then we have people who are 0 to 4 to be like maybe 10 to the fewer population. But we have people that are in the middle ages from like 20 to 50 that are more. And you want to return the records of everybody apart from people who are 0 to 4 years old, right? And so that's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's easy to say not in 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 than to say not in 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all up to 80. So use not when the condition you want to is less than the opposite. So you choose which one is better. Am I using the in and the list of things are not much? Or am I using not in and the list of what I don't want is not much? So those are the logical reasoning you need to decide whether you use in or not in. All right. The same thing with between. We have something we call between. When you use between, I'll delete this. Let's see. This might not work well for between. Let's look at something that has dates. Let's look at the orders table. Select all from orders. Okay, so the orders table has like order date. Let's say we want to get all of the orders that were placed from the, let's say from in the month of May 2005, for instance. We can see 2005 record, we can see May. So let's say we want everything from 1st of May to 31st of May from this orders table. So we use the between clause there. We want to select all from orders where the order dates column. So it's always where the column name. So order dates column, and the order date is between now. We want it between, so the date is like the year, month, day. So we have to specify like that. So we want it to be between 2005, month is May, and day is 1st, right? So it's between 1st of May 2005 and the last day of May, which is 31st of May. So like this. So when you run this, it will only give you orders, and you see that the order date is just for May, 1st to 31st of May 2005. Now, where is this useful? If you are doing data analysis and you want to create your dashboard so that people can select a time range of data to analyze, you want to get, for instance, you want to get all of the, let's use a restaurant, for instance. You want to find all of the people who ordered pizza in the month of May, and then you can satisfy two conditions where order dates between this and the order item is pizza. Get? So by the time you are doing that, you can put this in parentheses. So the between knows is comparing these two for between, and then an and operator again to add another condition. All right. So you want to think about real life scenarios where this is useful, because every time you have a software, it interacts with a database. There is a code like this that you put within your software that goes to fetch the data. So like the login form, for instance, the person combines the username and the password. So the query that is run behind the hood is to select all from the table, maybe the users table, where the username is this and the password is this. So use the AND operator to combine both the username and password must match, then it returns, redirects the person to the login page, successful login. If it doesn't match, maybe gives them a message that username or password is not correct, things like that. So these are the applications of what we're learning now. There is another operator that is very confusing, the like operator. And like will come in useful, especially during exploration. The like operator written like. The like has wildcards, we call them wildcards. The percent sign, which we use to match a sequence or a sequence of characters, and then we have the underscore, which tells you 1, 2, 3, or how many number to match. So these are wildcards. But how do we use the like operator? When I want to look at multiple characters, I want to say, let's select from the customers table and see what it holds. So I want to say, let's work on customer's name. I want to get all of the customers whose name starts with an A, something like that. So let's write the query. So I'll select all from customers, then I'll go to where the customer name. So the customer name, they use like. Because now you're trying to, it's like you're matching a pattern, right? You want to see all the customer that their name starts with A. So you put the letter A here, and the percent sign now is what you use to represent the character, like how many characters, multiple characters. If the percent sign is in front of the A, what it means. If it's behind the A, what it means. So when it's behind the letter or the sequence of letters you've written, it means that you want to get all of everything that starts with A like this. All right. And so when we run this, we only get customers whose name starts with an A. Okay. So if we want to see that, we want to get all of the customers whose names end with, let's say an E, for instance, I'll put E here and I'll delete the A. So ends with means the percent comes first, then the letter you want to check if it ends with E. And so we get only customer name that the names end with E. Then we want to get like, I want to show you an example where you use more than one character, like let's say AE, and you want to see customers that their name has AE, maybe in any sequence, but has AE together, like that. So you use the percent sign in front, the percent sign behind. So AE in any position. So we'll look at, we only have one customer who has an AE here in any position. So we'll have this customer that has AE in the sequence of their names. Now, this will be useful in several things when you're exploring data, when you're trying to get different kind of analysis. I'm trying to think of where it's very useful in a real world app. But you can think about it and see what you want to match. And you just know the sequence. When the percent sign is in front, you want to get everything that comes at the end or that ends with that letter. If it's behind, that starts with that letter. If it's a sequence of characters at any position, the percent sign will be in front and behind. All right. But then we have another wildcard, the underscore wildcard. And when you have the underscore, it does something different. Oh, there's something else that we can also do. We want to see that it starts with something and ends with something. We put the percent sign in the middle. Let's say starts with A, ends with E, like this. Right? You put the percent sign in the middle. So the like operator is something that you naturally not keep in your head. Just have like an index to know where the percent sign should be when you want to get different things, right? So if you want to start with A and ends with E, you put the percent sign between the two letters you want it to check for. Then we have the other wildcard, the underscore. So let's say I want to get not start with A now, but has maybe A in the second position. So I'll start like this. I'll say I want to get all of the customer whose names contains an E in the second position. So I'll put an underscore to say this is the first position. I want the E in the second position, and I'll put my percent sign. So when we use the underscore, it's just to indicate position or number of characters. So we want the E in the second position of their name, and then we use that. So we only get customers whose second letter of their names is an E. All right. So if we want to get things like the customer that the name starts with an E, and maybe it's at least, it starts with an E and it's 2 characters long, for instance. So I'll say start with E, and I want it to be 2 characters long for the minimum. I'll put 1 underscore. Then I'll put my percent sign. If I want it to be 3 characters long, I'll put 2 underscores. So that's the pattern. So I want it to be at least 2 characters long, right? So if you have all those names that are just 3 characters, 1 character name, like somebody's name is X, and it's not one character long. So an application of this is maybe you go to the registry for births or death certificates and things, and you have a name that is just one character, and they now tell you that they can't give a birth certificate on that name. You have to rename the child, like we see with Elon Musk having problems with name and issuing birth certificates for his children because of the names he gives. And they have to ask them to reissue names that is more than one character. So these are the kind of applications of that where you enter the name is not up to 2 characters long, and then it rejects that. So we see that there. So we get all of the customers whose names start with E and at least 2 characters long, like this. Anybody with questions before we move to the next? Do you all understand it?
Yes.
Okay. So we have the limit operator. Now, limit is just a clause that we use to specify the number of rows that are returned when we write a query. For instance, let's say I want to get, let's look at products table. Okay, so we have product code, product name, product line. Product line looks like things that are repeated. We have groups, so we can use this to group products. So let's say we want to use the limit operator now. We want to group all of this by their product line. So everything that is motorcycle and everything that is classic cars, everything that is trucks and buses, like in different groups. So we want to sort out in ascending order, and after sorting out, we want to just return the first 5 items. So let's say select all from products, and then we want to order this by the product line. Now, when it orders by product line, see what happens. It gives you in ascending order all of the records, but you don't want it to load everything. You want to see the first 5. Where this is useful is when you have a blog or you have a chat room or something, and users come there, and every time they come to the site, it loads current news. You only want it to give you, maybe you're sorting out by the timestamp. You only want it to give you the 5 most recent, so that will be in descending order. So you use the limit operator to get the number of rows. So I put limit 5, so it gives me only 5 rows, the first 5 rows. If I want this to order in descending order, so I want it to give me the last 5 rows when I use descending like that. Okay, so one of the real world application of this is in all those blog posts or news where you want to get the most recent 5 items in your feed and not everything. If not, your feed will not load very fast. So you get the most recent 5, and then maybe you have a button to click if you want to see older news, but the load time is lower when you have just the most recent 5 that most likely people want to use. Then sorted by the dates. Then we have the last one that we'll look at is the null operator. Now, let's say we have the customers table. There is a part where I think I saw addresses and null. Let's select all from customers. Now, in this customers table, we have, the state. You can see null values. Null means empty values. When you do data exploration for data analysis, sometimes you have to remove nulls so that it doesn't affect your results. Sometimes you have to do something with the null values, what you want to do with it. Now we look at this table has address, line 1, it has city, and then some of them have null for their states. There's no state. Now we don't know if this is a country that do not have states, like if you go to maybe countries in the Caribbean that do not have states but have parishes. They have so you don't know if because this particular country has states or they don't have states, but you want to look at all of the rows of information where the state is null. So that's where the is null statement comes in. I want to select all from customers where the state column now is null. So now I can look at how many records have null for the state. So we now want to see, maybe you want to examine the countries and see, do they have states in the country? Okay, they don't have states. Maybe that's why the state is null. So what do you want to replace all of this with? The country name. And so this is how we do data exploration. And when we clean the data, you want to look at the null values. And this is what we use. There is no statement like this. Okay. Anybody has questions? All right, so in summary, we've looked at the where clause, and when we use the where clause in the select statement, we are trying to filter the result set that is returned from the query by a condition that we specify after the where clause. Most of the time, the conditions are always on the columns of that database table. We have different operators that we can use. We use mostly all of these logical operators to be able to look at how to combine more than one query or more than one condition in the where clause. And we also saw how we can use them different operators. Like we don't want to use a table and we want to perform arithmetic operations. We say select, let's say 1 plus 1. And this will just give us a table with 1 plus 1 equal 2. You want to do multiplication, you do that 1 times 1, it give us 1. You want to do division, the same thing. And then you want to do modulo now. When we say modulo, let me give you an example of modulo. 5 modulo 2. We use the forward slash for division, right? And modulo uses percent sign. When we say 5 divided by 2, it gives us a decimal 2.5. But when we use modulo 5% 2 like this, it means I don't want the answer of 5 divided by 2. I want the remainder. So instead of saying 2.5, it will give me the whole number 2, remainder 1. So what I'll have here is 5 modulo 2 will return 1 as the answer because the remainder is what I'm looking for. So when is this useful? Is when you have things like you want to get odd numbers, even number. And so when you put a conditional statement saying if that number modulo 2 returns a remainder, it is an odd number. If it doesn't return a remainder, it's an even number. Things like that. That's what we use the modulo for. So you want to see if there's a remainder or there's no remainder to know which is odd, which is even. All right. So anyone has questions, this is the agenda for this week. If you have questions last week, this week, or anything you want me to review, you can ask now. Does everyone understand?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So we have the pre-recorded videos in your classroom. We have the videos for last week's recording in the classroom. Is also on YouTube. So if you have not gotten the chance to download it from Zoom, it's also available in your classroom. We have the assignment that is due next week, and also the trial period ends on Monday next week. And so the classroom will be restricted to only those who are fully paid for the course or paying by installments for the course. So you can go back to the classroom to see announcements and everything you're supposed to do. But the main thing is to keep practicing, organize your questions, come for the live class on Wednesday, have detailed discussion about whatever you're confused about, and we'll guide you through. Even if it's not from the database we have here, if you find another database that you want to work with or you're trying to practice with, you can bring your questions along. All right. All right. So thank you, everyone, and see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm.